Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me again on the channel. I've got a special guest for you all today. I'd like to share one of our own students with you all, Mr. Robert E. and family, out of Northern California, my home country. With me, I have my executive assistant of the organization. You all know her as Miss Nancy, who does everything truthfully. Along with her is her husband, Arlen, and we're all going to ask questions, hopefully to give you all a better outlook on the overall process of tax avoidance, trust setup, and wealth preservation. You may be a current student, or you may be inquiring, maybe as a YouTube subscriber or a TikToker, and you're looking at this information, trying to figure out if this is something that is for you. So hopefully from this interview with Mr. Robert E. and family, that you get a better understanding as to what we do here. Now, Robert has joined the handful of students who has completed the entire 0% tax liability course from freshman to senior. And we'd like to share his experience of going through the course, traversing the website, finding answers as a full-time working father and loving husband. So I will say we had some audio trouble in the beginning, but around the 12-minute, 52-second mark, we rectified the issue for more clarity. So bear with us, stay tuned, and I hope to interview you next time.
Hi, Robert. How are you? This is Nancy from the 0%, and this is Robert, and he is one of our students here at the 0% that has been able to accomplish many things through our program. And so we wanted to bring him here today to kind of go through everything that he's been able to do in the time that he's been able to do it. We're very impressed. So, Robert, how long have you been with the 0%?
First of all, hi Nancy. Hi Avery. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I got started with the 0% of roughly the end of December of 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very good. Okay. So we wanted to kind of jump right in. Just give us an overview of what you've accomplished so far. And then I'm going to ask some questions, myself and my husband, Arlen. We'll ask you a couple questions on how you were able to accomplish all the things that you're getting ready to tell us that you've done so far.
Yeah, of course. Great question. So, sorry. The first question was, where am I in the process?
Well, I just wanted to kind of give us an overview on what you've accomplished so far. Just the basics, what things you've already accomplished in the time you've been with us.
Got you. So my wife and I both have our trust recorded with the county, and do have our name changes pending with the county as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We do have 4 accordance satisfactions pending, or let's just say, actually 4. Like 6 accordance satisfactions pending, 4 revolving accounts, and 2 properties. So pretty much almost with the finish line there. Just gotta put some final touch on that, and then we'll be ready to file a bill of complaint there. But
Well,
yeah, that's kind
I want to kind of just go back on what you said there. When you said that you and your wife have pending name changes down at the county. Can you elaborate for the people what that means?
Yeah, so like Avery taught us taught and recommended in the course that we change our names from our ens legis name to our spiritual name. And so my wife and I went down to the county and just applied for a simple name change, spiritual names. just some paperwork that we're filling out, and it got filed with the county, and then we're to go back in next month and have the judge basically approve or deny the name change. And as long as there isn't any things on the back end, back taxes and red flags on your ens legis, typically it's not an issue.
Right. Nope. Good. Yeah, you guys, when he's talking about doing that, he mentioned changing from your birth name to your spiritual name, or sometimes we call it title of nobility name. And the whole point of that is to do business in a new name that's completely separate than the ens legis that they have given you and that they have taken control over. I'm pretty sure, Robert, you and your family have seen the information that was put together inside of our junior course, the version 2.0, how we got into talking about the afterbirth DNA material and updating your non-UCCs with the UCC3 terminations of what's called an agriculture lien that these entities has placed on your birth name. So this is all coming full circle as to why we want to do the exact name change. So very good, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for those in the group, Avery has set everything very systematically and very methodically so that every single aspect of the course has its purpose. So maybe it doesn't make so much sense right now, but full circle, like you said, everything ties in together.
Exactly.
Right. And also, sorry, Avery.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so going forward with that, so did you actually record your trusts already?
We did both of ours.
Okay, very good. And
That's something that we could talk about, because I know there are
yeah.
several students that have, rejections with that, or maybe they've missed something that was mentioned, or they didn't hear what was mentioned in the courses. And sometimes they'll take information that's just coming from several schools of thought and trying to make it happen that way. But for you, Robert, and your family, did you have any rejections the first time around, or was it good?
Actually, I didn't. I'm in Contra Costa County, which is Northern California Bay Area, and I didn't have any issues doing mine. I did mine initially first, and then the only thing that they didn't take, they were going to record the entire thing, but with a promissory note, because they were saying that they needed a deed of trust in order to back a promissory note. I had a conversation with them, and they weren't. So basically, Avery, at your suggestion, all I did was do the bond, because the bond, and I came back the next week with, or maybe even a couple of days later, with the bond and the promissory note attached to it. They recorded it, no issues.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, that's one thing that they can't reject. And I like to give that little scenario with the counties, when they're doing you always see signs within your city that says your tax dollars are at work, right?
Mm-hmm.
See the construction guys out there doing their thing, and sometimes their work gets on hold. It depends on weather or whatever is happening within local government economy. But all of that began when one contractor contracted the county and said, we'll do the work. Here's a bond just to make sure that we'll do it. If we don't finish it on time, you can cash out this bond and we'll end up having to pay the actual surety. So they record all bonds, and I like to use that as another source of an asset, of property to put into the declaration of trust. I'm glad that worked out for you. Very glad.
I am too, thank you. And then the great thing about execution is that I knew exactly what they were going to be looking for. Like Avery teaches us, every county is very different on what they're looking for. Some are stricter than others, and some are looking for certain things, and other people are more lenient. So I obviously knew by filing mine first, knew exactly what they were looking for, what I had to include, what they were more strict on, and I already had those expectations already met. So when I went the second time with my wife to file hers, we were in and out, no issues.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, let's keep it going. Nancy, let's get down to the next questions we got.
Okay.
Okay, I'll ask this one, Robert. This is Arlen. So you were saying that you did yours first and then you did your wife's. So how many hours a week did you work on them? Were you working on them simultaneously?
So I was trying to do it simultaneously. We probably got up to we got our 98 numbers simultaneously. We got our state numbers simultaneously. I think we got our enterprises done simultaneously, but it was just a lot of work. It's a lot of work for one trust, right? As everybody knows. And so we eventually broke off. I took the lead, and the great thing about that too is that you like I was alluding to earlier, is that you can kind of start on things with the kid first and see kind of what their tolerance is for certain things, if things work. And so I can report back and kind of see what they're looking for and things like that. So eventually I finished up my trust first, and she was right behind me.
So in general, how many hours do you think? Because I know you told me before you have a full-time job as well. You're not retired.
No, not
yet. Yeah. So what did your week look like? Would you come home, spend a couple hours a night? Like what was your life during that time?
That's a great question. So as you said, I have a full-time job. I have 2 kids under 5. And I'm a very present father, so I prioritize family time, and have a hard time sacrificing that for a lot of different things. But I do have a 45-minute commute in the mornings to work, and I have an hour-and-a-half commute coming back. And so I am listening to the course and going through Q&As every morning on my way to work, and every evening on my way home from work. And when I do have the chance, I'm also listening to it at work with my earphones, in the background. So you could say that I am fully immersed in the course for at least 7 hours a day, maybe, even if it's not, very intentionally while I'm driving. But even at work, if it's in the background, like, you still pick up on things, and you're even if you're not able to, obviously this is a lot of information, very, very deep information as well. So you're not able to necessarily retain a lot of it, but I truly believe that you have, you immerse yourself in something, and you just have it be part of you, so to speak. I know that sounds maybe esoteric, but it's deep, yeah. So to answer your question, a lot of time has been spent. Believe it or not, I went through the course almost fully audibly. So obviously I'm not watching, I can't watch while I'm driving, I can't watch at work. And so as you guys know, these classes and Q&As are sometimes very visual. He's going through a lot of templates and legal documents and things like that. And so what I would do is I would make a note at what timestamp I have things listened to, and then I'll go back at the end of the day and I'll rewatch that specific part so I can see exactly what Avery is talking about and see what form it is and how he filled it out and things like that. But believe it or not, I pretty much went through the audibly.
Okay, so my wife asked the question, how many hours a week did you spend working on trust? I think that's kind of how we want to rephrase the question. Because it
Yeah.
sounds like you really got immersed in the TZP and into the videos and into the book and everything else. You got really immersed in it, so you understood process. But how many hours a week did you actually work on developing and trying to establish you and your wife's trust?
Yeah, so education is obviously one part of it, right? But working on the trust, probably, going back and listening to that, watching those visuals on the videos, and then working on paperwork. I mean, probably I would say like 9 hours a day. So like maybe 2 hours after work, before I go to
Actual application on paper.
Yeah, I'd say well, sorry, let me rephrase. So like the most time consuming thing really is the knowledge, right? And going
Yeah.
information. So it can be very overwhelming, very daunting. It could seem like there's just so much information to get through, but there's like we talked about before, there's a system and a process to why the course was put together the way it is, so you could kind of attack it in small bites. And so that's why obviously there's different tiers and different levels for you to work your way to the senior course. But I'd say an hour a night, just on trust paperwork and documents and things like that with the county. But total, it'd be like maybe 9 hours a day.
Right, with the studies.
With the studies,
With the studies,
education and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said that you started back in November, December of last year?
Correct. So it was more the end of December. I would say, I would just officially say January. And it's kind of funny to say, I pretty much watched every video from freshman to senior, just to get through the information and have some sort of, obviously I wasn't going to understand everything, but I wanted to just kind of provide a foundation for the process and what I was going to be learning. And then I went through, and then so I started the process, and then as I was going through the process, getting my 98 number and establishing the state and the enterprise and all that, I would still continue part of that 9 hours a day. I would still go through every single Q&A that Avery ever did. So I forget what month you guys started with the initial group, but I went
through our Patreon days, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I went through, while I was doing that process with myself, after work with documents, I was going through part of that 9 hour audio. I was getting through maybe 3 Q&As a day. And yeah, I almost eventually caught up to like where you guys were at.
Concur.
That's a lot. That's awesome.
I remember when I was studying this information, outside of books and PDFs, there were some audio that we had from other mentors out there, and it just wasn't a course. It wasn't digestible in like a course material type of way. So it was really just either you catch a radio show, if you didn't catch it live, it's in the archives, wherever they had hosted it. And to be discreet, to make sure that all of that information was untouched, and because we already know how they like to scrub these things. It wasn't dated and it wasn't titled, so you're just pretty much listening to 4 hours of audio, and maybe only 7 minutes of it was something that you needed. So I took all of that plus what I read from other mentors and try to give it in a way that I would have liked to receive it. kind of like a college university format. That's how we're used to learning.
Yeah, and
So,
the Q&As seem really daunting. There's so many of them. It doesn't seem as many now. There's like 20 or 21 in Mighty, but when we were on Patreon, there were a lot. And the reason why, I will say, you might be asking me this later, but the reason why I think I got through the course so quickly is because, believe it or not, this might be breaking news to everybody, but every single question that everybody asks on Saturday is already in the course. It's just a matter of finding it in all the information.
yes, it is.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that you said that.
Thank you, Robert.
You don't need a consultation. You don't need, I mean, Avery would probably tell you to save your money. If you just do the work, the answers are in every single Q&A for almost practically every state, every situation. It's very rare that there was a question that I had that somebody didn't already ask already, and I went through every single video. So for those that are just trying to push through, get it done, can't get a hold of Avery, and just, I truly believe that although Avery built this family and this TZB to where it is, it's still on you to execute and make it happen. So like I said, every single answer is in those Q&As. It's just a matter of getting through the information for yourself and your family.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate
a lot of times it's yeah. So just to be clear, and this is another thing I want to make sure is clear, that the guidelines that you followed per the website, per the classes, those were sufficient for you to get through this process?
Let's just say you could probably get to where you're going without a map. Having a map makes things a hell of a lot easier. And the way Patreon just the way that the course is set up, it's hard to beat. It's really easy to navigate, just going through the different classes, freshman, sophomore, junior, and ultimately to senior. Like I said several times, Avery didn't just throw this against the wall and hope it stuck. Obviously, he went through this information, found the holes on probably how he would have learned faster, learned easier, learned more efficiently with his time, and he did that for us. So yeah, I think it's amazingly well structured,
and it's going to get better. Get better websites, better systems as technology grows. So we're going to be in this thing for a while for the people. I remember being told Amazon never created a website and just let it run. They're always going to be implementing new techniques to have a better system. So colleges and universities are doing it, so we have to do that too. What I wanted to just kind of point out here, some may actually come to the site and they're actually trying to figure out what does each of these tiers mean. For you, Robert, when you first came in, did you start off in an individual tier, or did you jump right into the complete zero tax liability tier?
I came in through the whole thing because I knew that I was here for the long term. I didn't want to just pick something like accord and satisfaction. I wasn't here for just one quote unquote play like people try to throw around these days. I was here for freedom. I was here for wealth. I was here to take care of my family, and so I was here for the complete zero course.
It might be a little news or shocker to you, but I've spoken about this with my team. Those that have completed the process, and you'll be able to show us everything you've done. And it's kind of a good way to take advantage of that, because we can look at and see if there's any holes, maybe something was missed. If not, you will be able to come out of the complete zero tax liability tier into what's called a graduate tier. Significant savings as to what you're contributing now. So we're going to take a look at everything that you've done and make sure that that happens for you and your family.
I appreciate that. I do remember you saying that on a Q&A, actually. I didn't know what it was called, but I remember you saying something about it just being discounted, and definitely a lot of other things to come for those that have finished the process.
Right. Yep. Can't wait to do that. Maybe, we want to have you guys still, when you do this trust packet, that's one thing to have everything recorded and all of that. But, I've seen people do this process years ago, and the game has changed. Definitely has changed. So you have to be a part of some type of awareness where you can still be a part of something, and you can know how to implement those new changes for yourself, because this is what's called an express trust. And for the very reason it's called that, you have to know how to express that trust. No pun intended, but that's really what it's supposed to be done. Right. So if you can stay a part of it, I think with the new information that I'm going to be putting into the software, because I know that now for you and your wife, you are most likely ready to move on and take title to property the correct way, and also to handle what's called your marriage bond, something that's completely separate from the marriage license. We want to get rid of that. I think you said that you started that process as well too, right?
I will be getting our 98 number per your instructions here soon, and going through that, annulment and legal divorce, and then and then getting that marriage contract set up here shortly. Awesome.
And from there, it just goes down the line. We protect the children, getting them the lease agreement with their own non-UCC document. And that's going to be in play until they reach the age of majority. A lot of times, the rule of thumb in every state is probably 18 years old, sometimes 21 in the South. But that really does come down to the parents. When do the parents say that they are of the age of majority to operate and run a trust? Right. And I like that. I like that model. That flows the best with me, because not every 18-year-old is mature to do that, to make that type of declaration. And I believe that's how you keep trust fund babies in control as well.
Well said.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Arlen, Nancy, we have any additional ones?
Yes, we do. So from start to finish, how long do you think it took you to get your trust submitted? Like how long did that take you?
That's a good question.
From the time I started the 0%?
Well, from the time you started implementing your education to build your trust.
From implementation to recording it with the county, I would say 4 or 5 months, to be honest. There was like a wasted month of me so I'm sure a lot of people can relate. There's times when you're overthinking something and you're not sure if you should turn it in as is, and trying to go back through videos to find that one thing that you heard that you thought you heard that Avery said not to do, but this to do. And I'm sure that's a common theme across the board. And I probably wasted a month right there, to be honest. And going back to find the answers. But to answer your question very directly, I'd say 4 or 5 months.
That's awesome.
That's practical. I find that is the same in different counties and in different states, and that's taken into consideration at least one rejection, for something small and frivolous.
Right.
It's okay. Great.
So Robert, what was the most challenging process doing this? I know that, for some people, they just, like you said earlier in the conversation, the whole idea of the education and everything is pretty overwhelming because there's so much to absorb. But was there a particular part of the process that just kind of seemed to get you a little bit more than the others?
That's a great question. I think at its base, it was not learning anything specifically, but unlearning everything that we've been taught in society, right? And where we are in our lives that kind of got us to this point, and what we thought to believe is reality is in fact, this whole nother world that we're finally taking the blinders off and coming out of the matrix and being able to see through Avery's guidance. So I would say unlearning everything that we've learned up till now.
So with that,
So it's okay. I'm sorry.
so it's okay. I was going to kind of add to that. So with that being said, it you didn't just come across this platform or the book and just say, hey, I just want to do this or see where it goes. There has been something brewing within you and in your mind, or with the wife as well. Conversations have been had. Kind of talk about your space. Where was your mindset? What were you trying to dissect and absorb before the great I am led you to, the 0%?
That's a great question. I've been on this journey for freedom, and I didn't know it was this type of freedom, or this extent, I should say, of freedom that would be what you were teaching. It was financial freedom. And so my wife and I, our ultimate goal, even through this process, is to be stay-at-home parents and being able to homeschool our kids, and just being able to, we're not chasing wealth, and we are chasing wealth, of course, but we're not chasing riches and cars and material things that don't matter. We're chasing freedom and memories with our family. And so I've always been on this journey for that, and I didn't know how I was going to get there. I just knew that it was possible, and God would deliver something sometime, somewhere. Had no idea how it was going to happen, but I believe that was just destined for me if I worked hard enough and found it. And at first, even still, it was financial freedom and investing and things like that, but nothing to this extent. And even going through the process and learning things from you, Avery, I was just obviously, like probably other people, just mind blown to what the things that you're teaching, and like how this is even real, and how how this literally could break the chains of and make all those things happen.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember years ago researching this information and trying to do my own practice on myself before I can break it down to family. And it was so overwhelming within me, where I just I want to tell you, but I couldn't tell it someone, and Isaiah was the same way, Nancy.
I know.
He
Yeah.
wanted to break it and show what he was working on, but he had to be discreet because to be honest, money talks. It does talks. And even if you're not showing money, you really just want to show this document went through and enough time passed to where nothing came back on you, and I think that is the most important thing when people are trying to do this process and also share it with others. You cannot do that until it has worked for you. So I give you kudos for the research and time of material that you have put into this subject, into this circle before coming across this platform. I think it's just a matter of time that you come across this platform, and there may be others past me, to take this on further and farther and better that will come across as well. I'm always a student. We always have to be a student. Keep that mindset.
Exactly. Yeah, can never stop learning.
Okay, so going back to the one question, just really quick. So through the actual process, there wasn't any one particular thing that really gave you, any challenging moments. I just wanted to find out for other students who are going out there and they're having issues, and we're referring to those that have to get additional consultations and help and that kind of thing. I was just wondering, because you seem to have done it so smoothly. I was curious, was there any one thing that just stuck out that just really kind of made you dig a little deeper, to get some information? And how did you resolve that?
Yeah, if there was one thing, it would probably be the fictitious business names. My wife and I own several companies together. And so I was just overthinking it, trying to figure out how to file them if we both owned a company, and if we were gonna just keep them and put them in the trust or dissolve them and all that stuff. So fictitious business names a little bit. Eventually, Avery talks about either keeping them or dissolving them, and to be honest, it's just as simple as that. Putting in the trust or letting them go. And so it was a little bit unique for ours because we both owned those entities, and we were both filing our own independent individual trust. So that's what was kind of throwing me off. But yeah, eventually
you were able to find the material that you needed to get through that process in the website, on the website.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it was just a matter of going through the information, finding out where I heard this one thing in the Q&A, and this might help people. So the Q&As are a little bit structured now, a little bit structured differently now. But when you do take notes, write the title of the Q&A with it, and then jot your notes on it, so that way when you do go back and you have something that you want to reference, exactly where to find it. And so you can even write the minute marks, because that kind of stuck out into your situation and so forth.
Yeah, that's really good advice, because there are a lot of Q&As and a lot of minutes involved in watching those. So it's a good idea to mark the minute, so you can go reference it to it. Also, with the new website, have you, I know you're done with your process, but I know there's other things you're doing. Have you utilized any of the other products that TZP offers? And if so, how have you benefited from that?
What other products would you be referring
so we have specialty courses. So I know you mentioned that you've done the accord and satisfaction. So yeah, those specialty courses there. So I was curious, what other items in the website have you used to benefit?
Oh yeah, for sure. So in the process of doing a couple things, the accord and satisfaction, of course, for sure, and that's I've gone through all of them, even though I haven't needed them necessarily, but it's just knowledge to add to the bank, to the bank, and add to the foundation, right? So Another thing too is that I am constantly re-listening to Q&As, even though I'm done with the process. You know, Avery touches, like I said earlier, also Avery touches on so many different topics and so many different people's processes in different stages. And so just because, you know, maybe I'm not doing this one thing now, or even earlier when I was going through the process, you know, I didn't necessarily so he'd be talking about UCCs during the, sorry about that, the UCCs on the Q&As, and I'm only getting my 9A numbers, so I don't even know
Right,
know
what a
anything.
UCC is, right?
Yeah, and so, you know, but I still make my notes anyways, because when I do eventually get there, I know where I don't know what a UCC is, but it sounded really important, right? So I could go back to that minute mark on that video when I do get to that process, to that stage where I am filing my UCCs, because eventually you're going to get there, and then you could refer back to all that information. But yeah, everything.
No, I get it. I mean, I do the same thing once in a while because I don't have a lot of time, but once in a while when I do get on and start watching videos, it's just so eye-opening. I mean, because, you know, if Avery doesn't just, you know, straight out talk about something that's super important, then a student will ask something and, you know, open up a whole nother can of information. So I totally understand. It's like, it's a lot because everything's so good, you know, so it is very important to, you know,
Yeah.
mark each moment.
For sure.
Avery, if you can, have you utilized our search bar on the website and saw how awesome that is to use? Because I have to refer students to that all the time. So Avery, if you can put in there, a lot of times people call me and ask about the hold harmless. So can you click that in there and show people how easy it is to basically find these items on our website?
Oh, Avery, if you X out of the civil cases right there.
Yeah, X out of the civil cases. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. Bam. There you go. So yeah, so I don't know. Do you use that search bar often, Robert, or did you when you were using?
No, because I did most of mine through Patreon, but
Yeah,
Patreon had the same sort of layout. Yeah, it's a not so hidden. I mean, it's kind of, I guess, a hidden gem that to use the search bar, but yeah,
it really is. So yeah, for me, it's a great thing. I go on there while I'm on a consultation and I'll click in and say, hey, I just found it right here. So
yeah.
I just wanted to bring that out because that's a huge tool that I think people overlook all the time.
And just a reminder, this isn't a platform where we're providing templates.
Right.
When you're doing the study and you're watching the material, the actual document is in the video. We're reading it paragraph by paragraph and getting an understanding of what it is that's going into your trust. Because if you just get a template and you fill out certain sections, you print it out, you send it off, you really don't know what you just did. If you ask me a question that's going after that submission of a document, a lot of times I'll figure out exactly where a student is because I know that they didn't comprehend that document. So it's very important. I just want everybody to know templates is not here. You have to be submerged in the material to fully understand what you're doing. Instructors are not always promised tomorrow. There's always somebody else that can come take over and fill the shoes of someone, but you're the one that has to stand on your own 2 feet in court if it ever gets to that. So I made it this way specifically so that you can retain and comprehend the information. So just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, this search bar is great. I mean, I think Patreon had something like it, but it didn't really pull the information that was, you know, completely housed within a section. So this is a lot better. I think some people were also asking about the bona fide dispute letter.
All the time.
And here it is here. This deals with the accord and satisfaction process. And I believe, yeah, Robert, this is exactly where you're at. You said you have some accounts pending right now with the court of satisfaction.
Yep. Bona fide dispute letters have been sent off. I'm pretty much in month 4. Some in month 3, but some in month 4, as far as the court and satisfaction payments. But I wanted to make sure that my rental property was put into the land trust first, and then we're filing the bill of complaint. I obviously, as your teachings say, that you could do it without it being in trust, but it just makes it so much more powerful. So that's what we're doing. And then we're going to do the quick claim deed for our primary residence into the trust as well, before we file the bill of complaint.
Good plan. It's a very good plan. You're planning everything before you go into the courtroom, because you most likely know you're going to have to go there to get the remedy. And what we're hoping for is that you go straight into arbitration, so that way this can be a settlement out of court.
Right.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's very good. So Robert, I did have one more question. So at this point, have you shared with family, or are family starting to ask questions because they see that you guys are doing things different?
No, like Avery mentioned before, it's kind of on the hush, on the down low. So
Yeah.
one of these days, real soon, you know, my wife and I were not going to go to work anymore, and people are going to be wondering why, and that might be an opportunity to you know, free the rest of my family. But you know, you have to obviously lead by example. You have to lead from the front, and so you know, you gotta show them it's real, because especially with information like this, it's almost unbelievable considering how we're brought up and what we're taught, and pretty much goes against everything that we were ever thought to believe what reality is, so to speak, right? So
Yeah,
it's all about
absolutely. Yeah, I was around it for a while, but I didn't know it until, you know, a couple family members finally told me. And so here I am as well, my husband and all my children, you know, my adult children. So we're thankful and excited, you know, that we were able to find it as well.
Yeah,
You
awesome.
never know. You never, you know, I was never looking because I didn't know any better. You know, I'm a little older, so we came up the way we came up, and we never had any privy to this type of information. So it's pretty exciting, you know. I'm glad we found it. So I remember, Robert, when I first had the first call with you, when you first started the program. So along the way, when you were sending me messages that you finished this, you got that, you did this, and then the last time you sent me a message, I was like, okay, hold on a minute. You know, what is it that you're doing? You know, because I'm obviously on calls all day with people getting through this process, and you absolutely stuck out. So we really appreciate your hard work, your dedication to the material, and your willingness to go find it. You know, that's a big deal, because we have to help a lot of people, and we don't mind. But like you said, a lot of the information is already there. You know, it's already on the website, in the Q&As. It's there. So we really appreciate your diligence with the program.
Yeah, of course. I'm just super grateful and honored to be a part of this group. I truly believe that impossible dreams demand impossible work ethic. And so everything that everybody's working towards, you know, like you kind of heard my why a little bit ago, is my family, and just being able to be just chasing freedom, right? And whatever that looks like for the next person. But ours is raising our kids, homeschooling our kids, you know, cherishing the precious time that they are kids, before they grow up, and not letting anybody else, no school or no caregivers raised them except us. And so we know how fragile time is. We know how fragile their childhood is as well. And so that is literally kind of everything about what we're doing this process for. And I would just encourage everybody to find their why. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but it's just so true. You know, a lot of people are just in this process and chasing different things, right? But like I said, I would just encourage you to dig deep and find out what you're really doing this for. And somebody once told me, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not strong enough. And so think about why you're here and what you're doing it for, and like really dig deep. Like, you think it's one thing and you ask yourself, okay, well, why do I want that? Or what's that going to do? Or what kind of happiness is that going to bring me? And if you're not crying, dig a little deeper and you're going to find the root of that why. And it has to be that strong, because there's going to be days where you're not going to want to watch a video, and you're not going to want to fill out a document and study and implement information, right? And it's just going to keep you going and get you to whatever that why is for you and your family.
No, thank you. That's beautiful and totally makes sense.
We still got a lot of work to do. We have the initial foundation put together now, with, like you said, in the counties. And we have somewhat of an understanding of what we're trying to do. So now, outside of theory, it comes down to practical efforts. And so that's where we're at now. So we're going to be here for you, rooting for you, and giving you all of the education that we can give to make you have a successful win in these endeavors. So that way we can come back. I know there's probably going to be a part 2 coming up, so that we can share with everybody how these things worked out. That's the most important thing. So I just can't thank you enough for giving back, for the information that you received in, and you're willing to share that with people. Because there are a lot of folks out there that do this and they just completely keep it to themselves. I understand it. I really do. But there are some people out there that really need to hear it, and they're really going to do good things with it. And I believe that is you and your family.
I appreciate that, Avery. You're very welcome. It's the least I could do for you, changing mine and my family's life and the generations to come. Thank you very much.
No problem. All right, everyone. That's Robert Yee and family. Check us out at the 0% channel. You can find that website listed down below in the description for all things lawfully related to federal and state, zero tax liability, and not to forget amending your political status as nationals on every level of government. You've heard from Mr. Robert Yee and my executive assistant and husband, Miss Nancy and Arlen. Thank you all. I'll see you next time.